You know, when you really think about it, modern medicine is incredible. It's the story of strategy and warfare all happening on a microscopic level. Every single pill, every injection, it's like a tiny soldier, a molecular agent sent on a mission deep inside our bodies to fight for our health. Today, we're going to dive into that battlefield.
And right off the bat, I just gotta say, I love this disclaimer from our source material. It's just so real. It kind of sets the tone, right? We're all in this together, trying to figure out some really complex stuff, maybe cramming it in at the last minute. So, hey, let's get into it. Okay, so before any drug can actually start fighting, it's got to get to the front lines. And this first part of the mission is all about logistics. It's about getting our molecular soldier from where it lands, say your gut, all the way to its target, which could be anywhere in your body. So how does a drug even get into our system? Well, think of it like trying to cross an enemy border. You've got a few options. Passive diffusion, that's the easy way. You just kind of drift across with the flow. Facilitated diffusion is like hitching a ride on a friendly supply truck. Active transport, though, that's your special ops team, using a little energy to blast through a gate. And endocytosis, that's a wild one. That's basically letting the cells swallow you whole to get inside. All right, once our soldier is inside, where does it go? That's what we call its volume of distribution, or VD. If a drug has a low VD, it sticks to the main highways, the bloodstream. Pretty straightforward. But a high VD? Oh, that drug is like a guerrilla fighter. It goes off-road, deep into the countryside, spreading out into all the body's tissues. And how long can our soldier keep fighting before it needs a break or backup? That's its half-life. It's literally the time it takes for half of the drug's forces to be cleared out of your system. A short half-life means you need to send in reinforcements, another dose, pretty often to keep the pressure on. But look, getting the drug to the target is just one piece of the puzzle. We also have to control its power. Every single drug has to operate under some really strict rules of engagement. We've got to make sure it's doing way more good than harm. And this is where the therapeutic index comes in. It's so critical. This is basically the drug's safety margin. A high TI is like a sniper rifle, super precise, very little risk of collateral damage. You've got a nice, wide margin for error. But a low TI? Whoa. That's more like calling in an airstrike in a crowded city. The line between effective and toxic is razor thin, and that's why those drugs need super careful monitoring. So let's take all these ideas and apply them to a real war, the fight against bacteria. We're going to look at one of the most legendary soldiers in this fight, penicillin. The cool thing about antibiotics is they don't all fight the same way. They have different strategies. Some, like penicillin, are basically a demolition crew. They go after the bacteria's cell wall, blowing up its defenses. Others are more like saboteurs, sneaking inside to shut down the factories that make proteins or DNA. Let's zoom in on penicillin's gear. The most important part, the real business end of the weapon, is this thing called a beta-lactam ring. That's the warhead. Then you have this other part, the R sidechain. Think of that like a swappable attachment that lets you customize the weapon for a specific mission or to get around enemy defenses. So, how does the attack actually go down? It's a beautiful, clean, three-step takedown. First, it binds to its targets on the bacteria's surface. Second, it inhibits them, which stops the bacteria from being able to repair its own wall. And the final step? Lysis. The wall gets so weak it just bursts. Game over. But the enemy always adapts, right? Some bacteria evolved a counterweapon, an enzyme called beta-lactamase. It's like a tiny bomb defusal expert that deactivates our warhead. So what did we do? We engineered new penicillins, like cloxacillin, that have a shield against this enzyme. It is a constant, ongoing arms race. Okay, but what happens when you're not just fighting a few rogue bacteria, but a full-blown fortress? A superbug? Let's turn our sights on one of the baddest of them all, tuberculosis. Yeah, Mycobacterium tuberculosis is just a whole different beast. It's got this thick, waxy cell wall that's like armor plating. It's an expert at hiding inside our own cells. A single drug isn't going to cut it. You have to lay a full-scale siege. And for that siege, you call in the special forces, the RHZ team. Each drug is a specialist. You have isoniazid, or H, hitting that unique cell wall. You got rifampicin, R, going after its RNA production. Pyrazinamide, Z, is designed to work in the acidic hideouts where TB likes to hang out. And ethambutol, E, attacks the cell wall from a totally different angle. It's this combined, overwhelming assault that finally breaks the fortress down. All right, finally, let's zoom out and talk about the big picture. Because it's not just about what weapon you use, It's about how you use it. And we have to be honest, every war has costs. In medicine, we call them side effects. When it comes to dosing, there are basically two major combat philosophies. On one hand, you've got concentration-dependent killing. The strategy there is simple. Hit them hard and fast with a really high dose. Overwhelm them. On the other hand, you have time-dependent killing, which is how penicillin works. It's more of a sustained pressure, a long siege. The goal isn't a massive dose, but keeping the drug level above a certain minimum for as long as possible.
And of course, there's always collateral damage. Let's take rifampicin from our TB Special Forces team. It can be pretty tough on the liver, it can give you flu-like symptoms, and then there's the one everyone remembers. It has this very distinct, though harmless side effect. It can turn your body fluids, we're talking urine, sweat, even tears, an orange-red color. It's a perfect example of a drug leaving its mark on the body's terrain.
And that pretty much brings our mission briefing to a close. We've seen how these tiny soldiers get deployed, how they fight, and the strategies we use to win. But the main takeaway is that this is a war that never, ever ends. Which leaves us with a big question. In this constant arms race, as the microbes get smarter and tougher, what will the next generation of our medical superweapons even look like?